I want to point out that the app that I'm using from my tablet to record what we're doing right now, again, trying to mimic what I would normally do in a classroom, I just hit the record button. So right now what's going to happen is this app that's running on the tablet called Explain Everything is recording all of the audio, me and you. So say hi, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, exactly, hi, everybody. So that's just been recorded by my tablet as well as everything that I do on the screen. And you can see on the left side of all of your pods, there's a little tool menu here. I have various tools so I can annotate on the slides, and when I do those sorts of things on the tablet surface, that all gets recorded as well. And what's going to happen is at the end of this, as it shows in the right box on your screen, I'm going to upload this whole presentation as a movie to YouTube, and then everybody can go there and watch and relive everything we did if you want to. I'm not saying you do, but this is what I do for my students in the classroom. So everything in the lecture gets recorded, audio, and whatever happens on the surface of my tablet, and then they have that as a resource to study with. Okay. So you can download the PDF of the slides that I'm using. The background of this was not created in Explain Everything. These are all PowerPoint slides from a previous class, say, that I turned into a PDF file that I uploaded into this app. It's very simple. I can show you how to do that if you want. So you've got the resources to take notes on these slides if you want. Those you can find at the URL on the top. And then on the bottom, that's where you can go after class at some point if you want to rewatch this. So you don't have to take notes if you don't want to. I encourage it, but you don't have to. Okay. Any questions at this point? So the whole purpose of this is essentially to walk you through the normal day in the life of my class and how I use this technology to do lecture capture and dissemination. Questions?
And Explain Everything. When you say that we can have like audio and video and everything, that's the free version or the other one?
This app currently costs, let's see, it used to be $1 something. Now it's a little bit more. It might be 10 something, but it's inexpensive.
No, I know.
And I'm just talking about me using it. So none of the students in my classes are required to purchase this app. This is for me to present and to record.
Oh.
Sometimes I have students use this app to do their own presentations. So if you have student groups and you want student groups to present, this is potentially a useful app for doing that. So you could do something like have students give a presentation, record it like I'm doing now, post it to YouTube, or maybe post it to Fresno State's streaming server so that you have limited access, and have maybe peer groups or groups peer review each other's presentations. So you wouldn't have to use class time to do it. You could have students give a really nice presentation that they've practiced and rehearsed, and then they upload their best version of the presentation to a streaming server, have other groups in the class peer review, evaluate student presentations in the evening when they're at home. Say, don't watch TV, watch this presentation by your fellow student group. Good luck, but any other questions?
Did you tell us about the student login?
So I was just asking for questions. Let's see. So there are going to be 3. So we're not there yet. Which room number? So I'm going to be talking about, and I have been, explain everything for lecture capture. Then for the dissemination portion, I'll talk briefly, very briefly, about YouTube. And then formative assessment is what we're about to do using Socrative. And the room number, let's see what my room number is today. If you enter, so everybody pay attention, enter along with me, 240, this is the room name that you enter, 240, and then 820. In fact, if I was a wise instructor, I might do something like this. Here you go. Instead of saying it out loud, why don't I just write it on top of that slide? And now in the recording, everybody's got that if they want to later this evening when you're watching this video. So we can take a couple of minutes, and people have already gotten into the quiz. Let's see, how many people are in the classroom? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I use this all the time for taking attendance. I teach large classes, usually 60 to 90 students, as it says here. So when you're done with the quiz, I'll talk about what my normal class structure looks like, but this is a picture of one of my Discovery or tablet classes. I usually have 60 to 90 students. I still like to take attendance. So instead of having a sign-in sheet, I use this method, student polling with Socrative, to collect who's in the room. And then I ask them a few formative questions, which you're all answering right now, about what you'd like to hear me talk about more today. And so I will show you what that looks like. Hopefully. Yes, there we go. So now on your screens, you can see what my laptop looks like. So it's my laptop up here, not my tablet. It's my laptop where I'm controlling this quiz that you're taking right now. And this is showing me your answers anonymously. Good afternoon. And as you can see, as you're walking through answering some of these questions, you can collect true, false answers, you can collect multiple choice responses, or you can have open written responses. So this is better, in my opinion, than clickers because you're not locked into A, B, or A, B, C, D. You can collect written response. And you can also track the progress of the class. So I can see that some of you are still working on answering question 2, while some of you have finished already. And that helps me figure out when's time to move on in the class, which is almost right about now. Okay, so about half of you have seen me talk before. That was true. And I'm asking this so that I know what I can gloss over, how much detail to go in today. And it looks like there's a mixture of what people want. That question number 4. Now, I'm going to do some pro and con lists if there are time from all 3 of the approaches, explain everything, YouTube, and Socrative. What's a con for your use of Socrative if you're the teacher and you're up here and you're me and you're looking at your tablet or laptop trying to figure out what's going on?
A con to me, and one of the reasons why I don't allow my lectures to be audio taped, is that I don't deal in black and white subjects. Okay, there are many, many controversies in my particular field, and so it's tricky. I don't know how much of what I have to say on any given topic I want put down for eternity. So
a fair point, yeah.
And I discuss cases that, I mean, it's a small town, I never use names, of course, but specific cases of either school clients or hospital clients, and so that's tricky also.
Yes.
So there.
Okay, so that's one potential con for doing lecture capture. A nice thing about recording with Explain Everything, which you can't see right now, but it's still recording on my tablet, is that you can pause the recording. So if you were going to go into a point in time, and you can see along the bottom of the monitors when they come back up, this control panel, you can record, you can pause, and you can see right now it's recording, the timer is still going up.
My lecture then where I'm feeling that possibly it's going to be a little sensitive, I can just hit a pause button.
Right.
And then when I'm ready to go back into just regular information,
Indeed.
record it again.
Yep, you just hit so I hit record again, now it has started again. The trick here is you have to remember that you paused the recording.
Yes,
I have
right.
so many lecture recordings that do not have the last half of the class because I forgot to hit record and nobody said, hey, Dr. Ross, it doesn't look like you're recording.
And you're the only person that can do that. So once you posted it, no one else can edit it.
That's
You're
correct.
the only person who can edit.
Correct. Now, if a student happened to be recording the audio from their tablet, just audio, they wouldn't have my tablet monitor. They could post the audio. So again, this sort of boils down to a lot of long-standing issues among faculty, some who are happy to have everything that they say and do recorded and some who don't. There's always this issue in the classroom. Students, if you have it in your syllabus, of course, students are supposed to then ask your permission to do any recording in class, and only with your permission can record audio and post it on YouTube or anywhere on the internet for others to enjoy or ridicule. Yep. So you're in control with Explain Everything. So a typical day in the life of my class. Switch to the laser pointer tool because everybody needs a laser pointer tool. We always start class with an entry quiz. So that's just like the Socrative quiz you just took. Formative assessment for me. I want to know, what you want out of that class, what your expectations are. On the fly, I can see it on my laptop monitor and react accordingly during class. Then using Explain Everything, as you see, I can record. I typically will explain or discuss with the students the answers to that entry quiz. So if there were things that they were getting wrong, that they were supposed to know when they came to class, we can go over that briefly using this as a presentation tool. We'll do solo or group activities or mini lectures, and then at the end of class, which we'll do here too, I will do another Socrative quiz. I'll capture something like, the question for you today might be something like, what was the #1 thing you're going to take out of this workshop? Same thing you might want to ask a student in your class. It gives you good formative feedback and helps them summarize what they learned today for themselves. What was the #1 thing you wish you had gotten out of this class or workshop that you didn't get? Give the instructor feedback. So hopefully a lot of you have finished the quiz. It looks like most of you have, and you might still see a spinning icon if you still have that website or app open saying waiting for instructor to do something. So I'm just clicking my finish button now. So I've finished that activity. Your screen should clear. Now everything's reset for that end of this session quiz that we'll do. Any questions at this point? So the app that I use is Explain Everything. It doesn't require more technology of the students. It just requires you to have a tablet to do this part. And of course, there are many other ways to record lectures too. This is just the way I do it. There are lots of ways to record you. This doesn't record me, of course, which the students like. They don't want to see me. They want to see what I've got to tell them. Some of you might like to be actually full-frame video recorded along with your whiteboard or whatever you're doing in class. That's a separate technology. So we did some formative assessment. We've talked a bit about lecture capture. That's using this app, Explain Everything. And it's more than just a digital whiteboard. So I've already shown you that I can draw on this. One of the things that I teach is genetics. We might do some phylogenetic trees, evolutionary histories between species. You might be doing genealogy, so you ask students to draw their own pedigree on their tablets or their laptops or their smartphones. Maybe you want them to send that to you. So the thing I like about this is the green workflow. I have no paper in my classrooms anymore. It's all digital. That's one pro for doing lecture capture. You can add content pretty easily. You can add photos from a variety of sources. So if a student has sent you a picture or some sort of drawn feedback in a digital format that you want to present to the whole class, if you're not in a classroom like this where the students can actually present to individual monitors, if you just have a classroom with one projection system, they can send you, say, a photograph, and you could display that for them. So here's, for example, the biology faculty retreat picture from yesterday that I took. So you could have students annotate, look, there's Dr. Ross, whatever. So if the students have this app, Explain Everything, there's a lot that they can do, mostly because it's green. So this is a substitution. This is substituting digital process for a paper process. That's one of the benefits of doing this. And again, since we're in Explain Everything, this is all still being captured, recorded by the app. This will all be part of the movie that we see later. So if you want to bring in materials from the internet or anything like that, it's easy to incorporate into a lecture on the fly. You don't have to pre-prepare for this by having all of this already set up in a PowerPoint. So with regard to this approach, my best practice is, if you're going to do this, take the video and put it on YouTube as soon as you can, because if you wait long enough, students will forget that you're doing this. They won't use the resource, so it'll be kind of a waste of your time. And you probably just won't do it. So if you get into a habit, that makes it easy. What's even harder to do, but more important, are these second and third points. So I'm going to talk briefly about making a table of contents for videos, And then the third point is just a suggestion. Instead of just recording lectures, I've started to record answer keys to homework problems, quizzes, exams. Especially, depending on what you teach, the students might really enjoy being able to see you work out a problem or an answer or a solution to a question or diagram a sentence or whatever it is you do. So if you have a process-oriented question, they like to see you work it out in real time rather than just have the static, oh, there's the answer. Sometimes it's helpful to actually see and hear the professor, as they're writing, work out how to answer that question. So a lot of my students spend more of their time watching answer keys than they do watching the lectures over again. And that might just be me, but I think it's a good practice. So we'll talk about table of contents in a little while. This is my list of pros and cons just for lecture capture. I'd like to know if anybody has anything to add. We heard one potential con already, and that sort of falls in line with the I'm recording everything. And of course, I always have the choice to go back later and edit it out, but that's a lot of work. So I've just taken it's a teachable moment stand. If I record a mistake, that's fine. And it's a pro, though. So it can be a con because a student might come up to you, and this has happened to me, and say, well, you know, you said that that wasn't going to be on the test. And then I say, prove it. And they say, okay, go watch this video at that point in time when you said out loud in class that that was going to be on the test. So, okay, fine. My mistake. But at the same time, it's also a pro. Because you'll do the same thing to your students. They'll say, well, I didn't think I had to study that. I said it in class at this point in time in this video. Go watch that video at that moment. So that's both pro and con, I think. There is a small cost for the app. The biggest con, maybe for many of you that are, if you're wedded to PowerPoint presentations, is that you don't get hot links retained. So if you have links to websites in your PowerPoints, those are no longer clickable in this app. This just thinks that whatever is on the slide is a picture. There's no text here. This is all just pixels. It's a drawing. So you don't get animations, you don't get hot links. So there is some work that you have to do if you want to use this approach, this app, explain everything, to do lecture capture with PowerPoint slides. Has anybody identified any other pros or cons that you think you'd add to these lists? Yeah.
Question, so how do you handle that issue yourself?
Fortunately, most of my PowerPoints didn't already have animations or hot links. I do the old school animations where I make multiple copies of the slide and have little things appear on each slide because I'm not really actually technologically savvy. At least not with PowerPoint. And hot links, I do go back in afterwards and you can add in, as you'll see in just a second, I've added in some web pages to this presentation. So weird thing about Explain Everything, it's nice, you can add, using this plus button over here on the left, not only pictures and math equations and video, but you can also add a web browser screen. So if you do have a website you want to visit while you're in this app, you can. This is perfect because one of the cons that you probably saw was this most important one, that the recording is only recording whatever happens while you're in this app. Well, this app is the open app on your tablet. If you switch to Safari or Google Chrome or any other app, that stops recording because this app is no longer open on your tablet. And that's when I usually forget to hit record again when I come back to explain everything and continue my presentation. Move to another app, move back. No, forgot to hit record again. So there are pros and cons.
Sorry,
Please.
You're saying that even when you open up the browser within this, it's not recording it?
It will record the browser when it's within Explain Everything. So that's the benefit of doing that. In my experience, it's a little bit of hit and miss. So here's an example. So I've got, this is a live browser window that I've already pre-populated with the URL up here. So I already stuck in a URL and it opened a window before I started this presentation. But it's live if I'm in the right tool. And if I've got a web connection, I can play this movie in real time and it would record what's happening in the movie in real time. So this is an example of what a movie looks like after I've exported it to YouTube. So this is the middle or the start of one of my study guides, the Test 3 study guide key. And this is something that students would watch and watch me work through this statistics problem in genetics. So I don't have the audio turned on at the moment, but you can see I've got captioning. So the one drawback potentially of lecture capture is you have to find out whether or not you have to caption your videos or not. Most likely the answer is yes. And we haven't yet had a full, so here's a time when I pause recording again. The captioning is done in YouTube. My preference is there's a tool in YouTube where you can listen, you can play the video and type at the same time. So you type out what you're saying. If you're really good, if you already have a script that you read verbatim that's already in a Word file, you can use that as the captions. But of course, most of us that do lecture style or any sort of active learning or student engagement, we don't know what we're going to say for 50 minutes or an hour or 3 hours in the classroom, so there's no way to do that. Campus does have some captioning tools that also can be used, and that would be something to talk to Tilt about, or formerly Tilt, currently Tilt. Centrally for faculty, yeah, exactly, thank you. I'm having trouble so far keeping up with all the changes recently in the administrative structure. Yeah, exactly. So, big caveat, and important to point out, if you want to lecture capture, it's something you do have to think about. Do you have to caption the videos? Other questions?
I have just a quick question. Do you have the $5.99 or the education version, which looks like it's more powerful for $7.99?
I have probably the $5.99 version. Yeah, either would be fine. I don't remember what the benefits of the more expensive version of Explain Everything are. That just came out. There's a new version of Explain Everything that just came out like a couple months ago. I haven't yet had the time to play with, unfortunately. Other questions, please? Yeah.
When you record a video for 40 minutes, what's the file size like?
Well, let me check. Let's see. It's usually 10 to 20 megabytes, I'd say. So it doesn't eat up a ton of room on my laptop. And what's better is, because I'm using YouTube and YouTube is now affiliated with Google, it just takes up Google Drive space, which we have essentially unlimited storage. So file size for me isn't an issue, and it isn't for the students, of course, because they stream the video on YouTube when they watch it in a web browser. And I apologize, sometimes one of the clunky things about Explain Everything, if you want the full suite of tools, then the bottom of your slides sometimes get covered up with the bottom toolbar. And that's where I put all of these student quotes that I thought would make an impression on you about the value of recording lectures. So I had one student say what you can see here. They loved being able to go back and rewatch lectures and look up definitions of words they didn't understand. This is a quote I get a lot from non-native English speakers. They're the ones I think that most often use these recorded materials. And of course, if you use PowerPoint and if you have a tablet, this is free for you to do. You don't do basically any extra work unless you have to do some tweaks to your PowerPoints first. Other than you come into class, you hit the record button, you do your thing, 50 minutes, you go back to your office afterwards, you hit upload to YouTube. It takes very minimal faculty time to provide resources that could be really powerful, especially for certain groups of students. But every student can use them. Other questions? I saw that Q&A came up as an important thing to build in time for, so trying to make sure I cover as many of those questions as possible. Okay. We only have about 7 minutes left. I'll flip ahead quickly to making a table of contents. I'm not going to go through this in detail. The idea is when I get back to my office, I immediately watch that video. Again, this is crazy, I know, I'm weird. Go back to my office, download the video, and I watch it, and I make notes about when do I make transitions between different topics. So I make an Excel spreadsheet here in content, for example, for this study guide key that I was showing. I've got question 1 starts at time, I don't know if I'm leaning and pointing, I'm out of practice. Question 1, gain of function and loss of function mutations. So these are keywords that I'm writing into this Excel spreadsheet. That starts at video time 0. At 50 seconds into the video, I've started to answer question 2, converting between genetic map units. This serves various purposes. Most importantly, if you want to use this material again for your students in future semesters, there's no way that you're going to go back through a semester's worth of recorded lectures to try to remember, wait, what date was it that I had that really good explanation about that one topic? You might be able to find it by looking at your syllabus and figuring out which day it was you talked about that topic, and then watch the whole 50-minute video again to find where you talked about that, or you can make yourself notes. These notes are especially important for study guides or not when you upload these videos to YouTube. So best practice, write down, make notes about at what time point you started talking about key topics that you want to be able to point your students to. Watch this video at that point in time. That's a really critical part of the video to watch. And then uploading to YouTube. So we've already talked about captioning videos. You can create for free. Don't have time to show you now, but if you'd like, I'm happy to come talk to you about this individually. Make your own YouTube channel, create a playlist for each class. So you give a URL to your class and you say, this is the website to go to, the part of YouTube to go to where I'm posting all of the videos pertaining to your class or your section of that class. Caption the videos. And here's the most fun part about YouTube, the analytics. More formative assessment. But right before that, I want to show you what you can do with these table of contents. This is a YouTube screenshot. Again, same video, test 3 study guide to key. And I've taken, just copy and paste from that Excel spreadsheet here, what time each of those questions started. Question 1 answer starts at 0 minutes, question 2 starts at 50 seconds, and so forth. So the student, all you have to do is paste that in here, and YouTube recognizes that these are times, and turns each of those times into a hot link to that part of the video. So student opens the video and they say, all I really care about is question 8 because that's the one I got wrong. So they click on that link that says 10 minutes and whatever now drawn over at 42 seconds. It takes them to that spot in the video and starts playing it. So it saves time for students. They don't have to watch the whole key or even try to zoom back or scroll back and forth through the timeline to find where you start answering the question they're interested in. So I'm going to switch back to my laptop because this part doesn't work on the mobile version of YouTube. I have to show it to you on my laptop. I'm going to keep my recording open on my tablet, so it's still recording audio, but it's not recording what you're seeing. So when you watch this later, you won't see this. You'll just hear my voice. So here's a list of many videos that I've uploaded, including, where's that? There it is. This is sorted by how many views they've had, so this is a number of videos from different classes. The Biology 102 Test 3 Study Guide Key. 18 minutes long, it's had the sixth most watches. And I'm going to hit this analytics button, right in the middle there. This is going to tell me about what students are watching, which parts of the video, how frequently, and that gives you a huge amount of information about who's watching and maybe what they don't understand, or what you should spend more time working on in class. So the timeline, right now it's only showing me activity of the last 28 days, which is all me testing this out for this presentation. So what I want to do is go up to this menu and say, oh, for the lifetime of this video, let's see the history of watches. Okay. So now you see that a long time ago, there were hundreds of seconds watched. Most people start the video and then stop it. This is watch time. This is not good. But what we really want, over here in this list, there are a number of different reports you can get on the left side here under Analytics. You want Audience Retention. And what this shows you is a graph of the video from start over here on the left, 0 minutes, to the end of the video on the right side. And this starts at 100% of people start the video. And you can see that there's a precipitous drop. So a lot of people start watching the video and then they leave. That's probably people like me who accidentally navigate to this page because the videos automatically start playing when you go to the page of the video, and then they realize, oh, didn't want that video, I want another video. But you can sort of get a sense of a background level. About 60% of people actually persisted to watch after half a minute. And they watch pretty much the whole movie. Right down here at the end of the movie, I've still got something like 50% of students still watching. But what happened here at like 9 minutes and 43 seconds where it goes up again? What does that mean?
Tough question.
It was a tough question, and students are rewinding and watching that part of the video over again. Or they're starting the video over there at time 0, and they're using that table of contents I built because they want to know the answer to that question that starts at 9 minutes and 43 seconds. So they're skipping from the start of the video straight there. So this gives some really interesting information to you, the instructor, about which topics you might want to go over again in class or need to reinforce because maybe this is what students are struggling with and they're having to watch the answer to that question. For an exam, you might know that already because that question probably scored pretty poorly. So when you look at the results of the exam, that could tell you the same information. But for quizzes or for in-class activity, if you're doing a lecture, you can go back to see which part of your lecture students are watching over and over again. Back to the iPad for the end. So it's very useful to do this sort of formative assessments and uploading videos. Potential cons, especially for YouTube, you don't know who's watching your videos. You don't know if it's one user or multiple users necessarily. You don't know if your whole class is using it or if all of those views are coming from one student. You do have to caption, and my big Achilles heel is posting long videos. Whole lecture capture, that's fine, but when I do videos that I ask students to watch before class, which is another great use of this, you can record yourself lecturing, ask the students to watch that mini lecture before, except for me, it's not a mini lecture ever. 5 minutes is good. I usually do like 20 or 25. I can't help myself.
My greatest concern is when you upload videos, students stop coming to the class. Have you ever experienced that?
So, is there an attendance issue with doing lecture capture? When I couple this with using Socrative to take attendance every day, I have actually had better attendance even though I am recording the lectures. So I get loads, thousands of minutes of videos watched, tens of thousands of videos watched per class per semester. And attendance actually is better at the end of class, only because I also use this polling software, Socrative, to take attendance and do a little mini quiz at the start of each class. The trick is I also do it sometimes at the end of class, which reminds me, that way students never know whether or not they're going to need to be present at the start and can leave, or if they need to be there the whole time to be getting the quiz points at the end of class. So in closing, my challenge to you is if you've heard anything here you want to know more details about, which I hope is the case, I challenge you to ask me to come to your class this semester or next semester. Just sit down at once. I'll be quiet during class. And then if you want feedback and ideas about how maybe to integrate technology into your class, I'm happy to do that. Okay. We've got some contact information here. And what I'd really love, and you can keep working on this after we're breaking up now for the next session, is I'm going to start another quiz to collect some information from you about what you think you learned today and what I can help you learn more about. So if you go back to that same Socrative website, or if you're still there, you can start, there's a new quiz. The room number is still the same, 240820. So if you can do that quiz, I'd appreciate it. And if you've got more questions, I'm happy to answer them. It is time to transition to another workshop, but I'm happy to hang out and chat as much as you'd like. And yeah, do please remember to sign out as you exit, if you're not staying for the next workshop. Come on in. You waiting for the ring? Please come in if you'd like.
Joe, thank you very much.
Thanks, Rudy. Yep. Thank you very much all for attending, and I do look forward to hearing from a lot of you about ways in which I can help. So I guess we're still working on that one.
I'm there.
You got that one? Okay.
I'm good if that's all.
Yep, that's it.